Episode 2, August the 4th, 1914, When the Foreign Office Blundered, by the Honourable Harold Nicolson, MP. Read by Robin Goldsmith. Harold Nicolson, the brilliant author and critic, was a junior member of the staff at the Foreign Office in August 1914. His father, described in this article as Nicolson, was at the time permanent Under-Secretary and later became Lord Carnock. Mr. Nicholson's story of the major blunder made in those critical hours of delivering the wrong declaration of war to the German ambassador, Prince Lichnowsky, makes fascinating reading. On Monday, August the 3rd, Germany declared war on France. At 4 p.m. on that afternoon, Sir Edward Grey at last informed the House of Commons and the country of the real nature of the crisis. Nicolson, in an agony of suspense, waited in his room at the Foreign Office. An hour later, Sir Edward Grey returned to the Foreign Office. Nicolson went upstairs to see him. The Secretary of State was leaning gloomily by the window. Nicolson congratulated him on the success of his speech. Sir Edward did not answer. He moved into the centre of the room and raised his hands with clenched fists above his head. He brought his fists with a crash upon the table. "I hate war," he groaned. "I hate war." At 2 p.m. on Tuesday, August the 4th, Sir Edward Grey telegraphed his ultimatum to Berlin. The German government were asked to furnish assurances that they would respect the neutrality of Belgium. A reply was requested by midnight German time, that is by 11 p.m. in London. If no satisfactory reply were forthcoming, Sir Edward Goschen was to ask for his passports and to say that the British government would feel bound to take all steps in their power to uphold the neutrality of Belgium and the observance of a treaty to which Germany is as much a party as ourselves. It was expected that the German government would return no reply to this ultimatum, and that a state of war would arise at 11 p.m. A communication was thus prepared for delivery to Prince Lichnowsky when the ultimatum expired. The text of this communication was as follows: Foreign Office, August the 4th, 1914. Your Excellency. The result of the communication made at Berlin, having been that His Majesty's ambassador has had to ask for his passports, I have the honour to inform Your Excellency that in accordance with the terms of the notification made to the German government today, His Majesty's government consider that a state of war exists between the two countries as from today, 11 o'clock p.m. I have the honour to enclose passports for Your Excellency's family and staff. I have, etc., E. Grey. The staff of the Foreign Office were working at full pressure under the blaze of countless electric lights. The mobilization scheme, prepared in 1910 by the Committee of Imperial Defence, had worked from the first moment of the precautionary period without a hitch. All that remained by 9 p.m. on August the 4th was to dispatch the warning telegrams to every British consul on the face of the globe. These telegrams had already been printed in advance and had reposed for years in what was known as the War Press in the Western Department. All that was required was to affix with the rubber stamp provided the one word Germany in the blank space left between the word war and the ensuing phrase act upon instructions. To relieve the tension of their nerves, the senior members of the Foreign Office participated in this pastime. While they were so engaged, one of the private secretaries dashed in to say that Germany had declared war on England. It was then 9:40 p.m., and the note prepared for Prince Lichnowsky was hurriedly redrafted and typed. The amended version began with the words, "The German Empire having declared war on Great Britain, I have the honour," etc. The passports were enclosed in this amended letter, and Mr. Lancelot Oliphant, at that time assistant in the Eastern Department, was dispatched to Prince Lichnowsky. He returned at 10:15. A few minutes later, an urgent telegram arrived en clair from Sir Edward Goschen at Berlin. It reported that the Chancellor had informed him by telephone that Germany would not reply to the ultimatum, and that, therefore, to his infinite regret, a state of war would arise by midnight. The Foreign Office were appalled by this intimation. Immediate inquiries were made as to how the previous information had been received, to the effect that Germany had taken the initiative in declaring war. It was ascertained that this information was based on an intercepted wireless message by which German shipping were warned that war with England was imminent. It was the Admiralty who had made the mistake. The Foreign Office then realized with acute horror that they had handed to Prince Lichnowsky an incorrect declaration of war. It was decided that at any cost this document must be retrieved and the right one substituted. It was decided also that the youngest member of the staff should be selected for this invidious mission, and the choice therefore fell upon Nicholson's, i.e. Lord Carnock's, youngest son. Grasping the correct declaration in a nervous hand, he walked across the Horse Guards parade and rang the bell on the side door of the embassy, which gives on the Duke of York's steps. It was by then some 5 minutes after 11. After much ringing, a footman appeared. He stated that Prince Lichnowsky had gone to bed. The bearer of the missive insisted on seeing His Excellency and advised the footman to summon the butler. The latter appeared and stated that His Highness had given instructions that he was in no circumstances to be disturbed. The Foreign Office clerk stated that he was the bearer of a communication of the utmost importance from Sir Edward Grey. The butler, at that, opened the door and left young Nicholson in the basement. He was absent for 5 minutes. On his return, he asked Sir Edward Grey's emissary to follow him and walked towards the lift. They rose silently together to the 3rd floor and then proceeded along a passage. The butler knocked at a door. There was a screen behind the door, and behind the screen a brass bedstead on which the ambassador was reclining in pyjamas. The Foreign Office clerk stated that there had been a slight error in the document previously delivered, and that he'd come to substitute for it another and more correct version. Prince Lichnowsky indicated the writing table. "You'll find it there," he said. The envelope had been but half opened, and the passports protruded. It did not appear that the ambassador had read the communication in which the passports had been enclosed. He must have guessed its significance from the feel of the passports and have cast it on his table in despair. A receipt had to be demanded and signed. The blotting pad was brought across to the bed, and the pen dipped in the ink. While the ambassador was signing, the sound of shouting came up from the mall below, and the strains of the Marseillaise. The crowds were streaming back from Buckingham Palace. Prince Lichnowsky turned out the pink lamp beside his bed, and then, feeling he had perhaps been uncivil, he lighted it again. "Give my best regards," he said, "to your father. I shall not in all probability see him before my departure. 13 years later, this same Foreign Office clerk visited Prince Lichnowsky at his shooting box in Silesia. For 2 hours they walked together in the snow-clad woods. The Englishman burned to ask a question which had been troubling him for all those years. "Did you ever know," he longed to ask, "that we gave you, that night in London, the wrong declaration of war?" He did not ask this question.
Goodbye.